Hello, this is Bruce Maloch, State Senator for District 12, with an update on the coronavirus and some important voter information from Columbia County Clerk Tammy Wiltz. Let's begin with the COVID-19 numbers. As of July 30th, the state has had 41,559 cases of COVID-19. That's an average daily increase for the past week of 757. That's about where we have been for the past several weeks. The active cases are down slightly, but the sad news is that we have had 56 additional deaths just in the past week, bringing our total death count to 442. Even though our cases have leveled off somewhat, they've leveled off at too high of a level. So we must continue to take precautions, wear a mask, wash your hands, practice social distancing so we can try to get these numbers down. We're less than 100 days from the general election in November, and like everything else, COVID-19 will affect how we approach our elections. This week, I had a chance to visit with Tammy Wiltz, the Columbia County Clerk, who has some important voter information for the upcoming election. Tammy, thanks for visiting with us today. You know, voting is one of our most fundamental rights, but before a person can vote, they've got to be registered. So let's just start with the basics. If a person is not registered, what do they need to do?
They can come into our office and we have applications here. And if they want one mailed to them, we can also mail it. We'd be more than happy to. They need to get it to us by October 5th. That's the deadline to vote in the general election this year. Okay. Now, if they are registered in another county, we can do a transfer up until October 30th.
Okay.
And we do that just online.
So anyone who is not registered to vote, they need to contact their county clerk and make sure that they get that done by October the 5th if it's a new registration, or the 30th if it's a transfer.
Yes, that's correct.
All right, we're still in the midst of this pandemic.
Yes.
And a lot of people are concerned about going to the polls. So tell us what the option is for someone who is concerned about going to the polls.
The Secretary of State has assured us that our current laws will cover any concerns with COVID. You can request an application for an absentee ballot. And what that will do is we will send you an application, you will complete it, and then mail it in back to us, and we'll have an absentee packet that will be mailed to you. You have to carefully follow the instructions in here because there are certain ways that everything has to be placed back into the envelope with the ballot to ensure that we don't know whose vote that is.
It's still completely confidential.
It is still completely confidential.
Now, and you may have mentioned some of this, but the dates, by what time would a person need to ask for an absentee ballot, and then I think it just has to be in your hands by 5 o'clock or whatever time election day.
Right. You can be requesting the applications now. You can do that at any time. September 18th is the day we would begin mailing out absentee ballots. October 27th is the last day that we can accept the applications for the absentee ballot by mail. They can come in person up until November 2nd to request an application, fill it out. If they're bringing the absentee ballot back themselves, they would have to do it that same day. If they have a bearer do it, they can bring it election day up until 7:30 p.m.
Okay. And I suspect on election day, with counting the ballots, you don't actually start counting these absentee ballots until after the polls close. Is that right?
No, we will be able to count them right before. There won't be any results available until we won't close that machine until the polls actually close.
Okay. I just assume that you'll have a lot more this year, and so it may take more time to get all of that
Yes,
processed.
we've already received upwards of 300 already applications, so it's going to be a lot.
Tammy, we're in the room at the Columbia County Annex where you actually do your early voting.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, I think the viewers can see some of the voting machines that we've got back here. So for those people that are going to vote in person, we have the option of early voting or on election day, November 3rd. So give us the dates of those.
Sure. Early voting starts October 19th and it goes until November 2nd. The hours are from 8 a.m. until 6 p.m. And the last day of early voting on November 2nd, the hours are 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. We have 2 Saturdays, and those dates are October 24th and October 31st, and we will be here early voting from 10 to 4.
And I'm assuming if we're still under the same rules that we have now for our COVID-19, that we're going to be asking people to wear their mask coming in, socially distancing and doing all of that. And I think either the absentee or certainly the early voting might be good options for people.
Yes,
But when there's
with
not
any
quite as many people, maybe you don't have to stand in line as long on those
Right.
days.
That's correct. We ask that people wear masks. We can't require it. We have been instructed by the Secretary of State's office that we cannot require it, and we don't want to disenfranchise any voters. So, we won't deny somebody voting because they don't have a mask on.
Let me ask one more question about, I've been voting for a lot of years. The poll workers are oftentimes retired people. So
Yes.
they're older, maybe more susceptible to the virus. So what are some of the concerns or issues that you might have? And I know that may be the Election Commission decision,
Right.
not yours, but tell us maybe how you're approaching that.
Okay, sure. The election commissioners, they do the actual selection of the poll workers, and so they are beginning to contact them now. We haven't had anybody just come out and say yet that, they're uncomfortable. The Secretary of State's office, through the CARES Act, is providing Columbia County, well, all the counties, with lots of PPE, plexiglass. Each voter will have a stylus that they will use to sign the tablet and to take and mark the ballot, so it won't go through anybody else's hands.
So you're taking all of those precautions.
Yes.
And
Yes,
I'm
we're
sure
making it.
any changes that happen, that information will be gotten out. I'm going to
Yes.
post a link to the Secretary of State's website about the voter information page. And anyone can contact their own county clerk because they're responsible. You've got an important job. There's
Right.
nothing more
Yes.
important than the integrity of our elections.
That's
and I know
correct.
that you know that. So I encourage everybody to vote. If you're concerned about coming out with the virus, contact your county clerk for an absentee ballot. And if you vote in person, you've got those days to do all the early voting or on election day, which is November the 3rd. But again, exercise your right to vote. Tammy, thank you for joining us
Thank
today.
you.
Thanks to all of our county clerks across the state for the important work that they do. If I can help you in any way, please let me know.